You can usually tell exactly when a miniature was painted by its base. Not the model, the base. That should probably tell us something. When I first got into the hobby, everything had goblin green bases. And I mean everything. Didn't matter what it was, fantasy, 40k, Blood Bowl, Hive World, bright green lawn. Necromunda gangs standing around like they just popped out for a picnic. At that time, it felt normal. It wasn't a style choice, it was just how things were done. That's kind of the point. Painting trends don't announce themselves as trends, they just quietly become the right way to paint. We've had the heavy metal era. Super clean, super controlled, edge highlights for days. No weathering, no mess, everything crisp and readable from 3 feet away. And to be fair, it worked and still does for box art and for most people. These models are designed for it. The paint style and the design actually agreed with each other to some extent, which doesn't always happen now, but we'll get to that. Dry brushing as a technique had its moment in the sun, and I mean just regular dry brushing. Thick highlights, obvious texture, sometimes it looked incredible, sometimes it looked like the model had been dragged face first through a chalk factory. But again, it made sense at the time. Different paints, different techniques, different methods and expectations. Then Citadel washes happened, like chestnut ink. Flippin' awesome to this day. Now we have things like Nuln Oil and Agrax Earthshade, along with a lot of others. And that genuinely changed everything. Suddenly you could do a base coat, slap a dry brush over it, and then just wash the thing and it looked awesome. That's all you really needed to do. It just worked. Depth appeared and shadows happened automatically. It was magic. And overnight, everybody's painting style shifted. Not because we suddenly had better taste, but just because the tools progressed. And that happens a lot. Fast forward and you get some very specific looks and styles. Non-metallic metal, which when it's done well, and I mean done well, is genuinely impressive. But it also became this weird rite of passage where everybody felt like they should learn it, even if they don't actually like the results or the aesthetic. Same with OSL, Object Source Lighting. It's cool, but for a while there, everything was glowing. Plasma pistols lighting up half a model like it's in a nightclub. Again, looks great in photos individually, but not necessarily on a board, in a game, on your terrain. Then basing went mad. Not bad, just intense. Resin water effect bases, cracked earth, Martian dust, snow effects, tufts everywhere. More tufts than my senior barber client's nostrils and ears. Bases started costing more than the model. And suddenly the base wasn't supporting the miniature, it was competing with it. Which is fine if that's what you want, but it became an expectation for a bit there. Then grimdark really took hold. Oils, pigments, streaking grimes, villainy inks, rust on everything. And I love it. I still use it a lot. But there was definitely a point where every model looked like it had survived 3 industrial accidents and a bout of tetanus. It became the look. And if you weren't doing it, you weren't one of the cool kids. More recently, you've got Slapchop, which to be fair is actually very practical. But again, it's a look. High contrast, desaturated midtones, designed to work fast, read well, and get an army done in no time. Same with synthwave schemes, same with monochrome schemes, same with pastels and flippin' My Little Pony schemes. All valid, all cool, somewhat, all in their own moment. And that's the thing, none of these styles is at all wrong in any way, but at some point most of these were treated as the thing to do, the way to paint. Advice quietly became rules. Rules then became self-inflicted pressure. And before you know it, people were actually painting in styles that they truly didn't enjoy, just to keep up with the current flavour of the month. Obviously social media sped that up massively. Painting styles now have to survive compression, scrolling, thumbnails, high contrast wins, subtlety dies. If it doesn't pop on a phone screen, it's invisible. And that doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it wasn't designed for that environment. What I've slowly realised, very slowly, is that painting styles are just fashion. They respond to tools, to platforms, to sculpts, and what gets attention on socials. And in a decade or so, we'll look back at what we're doing now and go, oh yeah, that phase, just like we do with the goblin green bases of old. The mistake is thinking that recognizing a trend is automatically rejecting it. It isn't. It just means you get to choose. I still use oils. I very occasionally dry brush. I still slap contrast paints on things just when I feel like it. I just don't pretend that it's timeless wisdom. Some styles and techniques stick around because they work. Some come back because they never stopped working. They just become fashionable. And some are fun for a bit and then you quietly move on. That's normal. I think the healthiest place to land is just awareness. Knowing why something looks the way that it does. Knowing when you're following a trend and knowing whether you actually enjoy it. Because taste is not a skill ladder. Liking something simpler doesn't mean you haven't learned more. Sometimes it means you've just learned what you like. Anyway, that's my little wander through hobby history while I reject edge highlighting with every part of my soul. Back to it.